Today's episode is brought to you by you, the listener. So be sure to take that next step and go to Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to this show and write a little review so we can keep these episodes coming. The Desmet Spartans, they have 6 stars on their crest, an incredible accomplishment in this high school soccer mecca. As only the second coach in the history of the program, Coach Josh Klein talks about his predecessor, the Coach Vitello, his culture, the balance and relationship with the MLS Academies, and what the team's expectations are every single year. Hint, it has something to do with Soccer Park. Let's go. What's up, Zachary?
Yo, yo, yo.
I'm playing this one for the third amigo that is yet again not present.
No, he's not.
It's almost like he's a politician, not present for the vote.
I'm happy for him though, and I said this in the last episode that he finally got to go on a vacation with his family that was not soccer related.
Yeah, then they all got sick on the plane.
and then they all got sick from exposure to all the different nastiness that's out there. But hopefully he'll be back soon.
Well, so I'm coming in hot with a little Bon Jovi. Bon Giovesi.
Yeah.
John Bon Giovesi was his real name.
Yep.
And the reason is because the other night when we were supposed to record...
Giovanni. Isn't it Bon Giovanni or is it Vesi?
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
2 days ago, no, 1 day ago, yesterday, 41 years ago yesterday, at the time of this recording, in 1984, Bon Jovi released their debut album. Did you know that?
1984.
How old were you in 84?
I was 6.
6. Yes.
I think I was about the same age as our guest, because I think we graduated the same year of high school. But we'll get to that when we.
So when you were 6, way out there in Washington, Missouri, were you listening to Bon Jovi or
no? That was on the
Amish hymns.
Not Amish hymns, but definitely gospel music, not. Well, oldies station, 106.5, the oldies, or 103.3.
103.3, Clue.
KLOU.
KLOU, Clue, 103.3.
Yeah.
The best. This is how you know you're old. Like if you're from St. Louis, when I was a kid, Clue, 103.3. The hits of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And now you turn it on, it's the hits of the 2000s and fuck you.
Yeah, I cannot. It's sad that, yeah. So we grew up with the oldies. Elvis was a big part, and then some country later in the decade. But yeah, I was not really supposed to listen to anything.
You know how much times have changed, though? Like the kids in Washington Mo now, you know what they listen to?
Jelly Roll.
I was going to literally say Jelly Roll.
Yes.
And I'm not even from Washington,
Jelly
but
Roll.
I know.
Zach Bryan.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I tried a little Jelly Roll. Listening to the music, right?
Yeah.
Because I heard him on, I don't know, somebody's podcast, whatever. He was on there. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of like this guy. I just like the way he talks and his cadence. He, funny.
Yeah.
Makes fun of himself, because he's a big dude and he makes fun of that. Very, self-deprecating. And then I tried the music and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it. Like I can listen to him talk, can't listen to him sing.
Well, I today on Spotify, I heard a song that's a Jelly Roll song, and Eminem.
Oh yeah, the remix.
Did a remix of it, and it's like an apology letter to his daughter
for being a drunk,
for being a dopehead and a drunk. And
I know,
a bad father, and it's like, well, I guess it works. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly American Pie, but whatever. Kids like
Here's we are. I mean, face tattoos you got to have them, I guess.
Would you ever do that?
No.
There's an amount of money though.
I mean, I have a small heart-shaped tattoo on my wrist.
That's
the only thing I have.
No. They dropped the pin. It hit your wrist.
Listen, you got one like 2 weeks ago, so don't give me shit.
Oh yeah, look, I don't. This is not my claim to fame. I did it for a lot of different reasons.
For me, the reason I haven't done tattoos more isn't because of the pain or anything. It's I am a
You're indecisive. You don't know what kind of art you want.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many times I've drawn up. I have the kids draw up things. I'm like, I'm going to do this, but then I'm afraid that the artist won't be able to represent what I'm actually trying to get out of it.
I could see you having little Beckett, like, because he's a really good artist.
Oh yeah.
Hey Beckett, draw me.
I do it all
I
the
want a
time.
tattoo,
Yeah.
Beckett. You draw it.
Yeah. He's like,
comes
okay.
back to you with like a guillotine.
Like, in fact, well, I won't even go into it. But
we've totally meandered a little bit. Soccer Dad Pod, out of the gate here, 2025. I don't know what you guys are doing over the winter break, but since the winter break, numbers are running. So thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. Take a second, hit that review button. Put in a couple words. I mean, it could even be as simple as awesome, which would be one word, actually, not a couple words. Or you suck. I like those two. I actually like, it's kind of like a little bit of a masochist when it comes to media like that.
Yeah.
I like the haters.
I do too.
Because it's funny. Because when somebody says, congratulations, I really like what you did. You did a good job. It's kind of like you expect to do a good job, right? So that's just kind of validation.
Yeah.
But when they hate you, that's entertaining.
Although
it's weird.
I agree, but I think
it's bad for the algorithm.
It is, but it's also kind of par for the course in reviews, Yelp or Google. Very few people write good reviews. A lot of people write bad ones.
Yeah, I would say people, either you are average, thank you for being average, or you need to be erased off the face of the earth. Yeah,
and you should never sell anything ever again.
Are you a bad review kind of guy, though?
No, I don't write if I do a bad review, so our recent trip to San Diego, we did a VRBO. There were dirty dishes in the dishwasher. There were some things kind of left out. Did I write that on their public review?
No, you sent them a little note.
I sent them a note.
Hey, your cleaning crew dropped the ball a little bit.
I am not going to put this out there publicly, but you need to know that this is going on.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Because people think we have a VRBO.
Yeah.
And every now and then, it's very rare because my wife is so militant about it. You get a bad review, and it's like they immediately put it out there, and inevitably the private message right after that is, "Do you think we could get a little bit of a refund?"
Yeah, no.
It's like you use the whole thing.
No. You start with it's just so stupid.
Hey, okay, Soccer Dad Pod. Last episode, Charlie Ward, our South End of London new friend from Millikan University.
Yeah.
It was fun. Why I liked it because it was a completely different representation of college pathway expectations. Again, from that D3 landscape. Because most people have no idea what D3 even means when it comes to playing college soccer because they are jaded in our backyard because they all think it's going to cost you $80,000 a year to go to Wash U.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of other options and there's different kind of optics.
No,
and he laid it out. I was impressed with kind of his professionalism more than anything.
Well, and I like the fact that he, he's kind of a newbie.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, our guest is coming on with 20 plus years of experience in education and coaching, teaching. Charlie comes over here. Coach Ward comes over here 5 years ago or less.
Good thing he spoke English.
Yeah, and was able to, land an assistant position at a D2 and then getting a head coaching job at a D3 and taking them to a regional championship or conference championship in their first
best
year.
Record in history.
Yeah, 22 years since they'd been in that spot. Some good accolades for some of the players that they got. He's got a great foundation for recruiting. If you haven't listened to that episode and you have kids that are thinking about playing in college, but you're not sure their level, man, you've got to listen to that. You've got to understand that there are multiple options out there. And you know what? It inspired me that I know we had Lindsay Eversmeyer on, who coaches at SWIC. Southwestern Illinois College. That's an NAI or a JUCO. We haven't had an NAIA, I don't think.
Not yet.
I think we need to add that to our list of gets and really round out kind of the D1, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening, parents, and you're stressing about the process of your kid entering it, or you got a little one coming down the pipe and you just have no clue. These are really good episodes because it manages expectations.
It does.
More than anything.
It does. And we have access to a lot of these folks, and JB, you and I talked about this off air, but my son is a junior, so he's got one more year left of high school before he has to make a final decision. And I thought, oh, he's top tier academy player. This is going to be kind of a slam dunk. We're going to have to just fight off offers.
Not easy.
Not even close. So just be prepared for kind of a grueling, and I'll give you more updates, as we move forward.
That prospect to player. When we'll talk about it. Actually, look in the liner notes. You're going to see a link. There's information there. We'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out something too about the show. Somebody was, I'm not going to name names, but they texted me and they're like, "You're kind of a kiss of death." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they replied back and they sent a picture of Sam Adeniran and then Frank Tayu.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I sat there for a second, and then I was kind of laughing, and I'm like, you know what? You're not far off. Because
Johnny Klein.
Well, there was plenty of time.
There was a lot of water under the bridge after.
Yeah, there were ups and downs there, and it's all good, and he's off to a great place over in the USL. But those two in particular, I mean, it was within
tight.
days.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about, just look up Sam Adeniran and Frank.
Look at the date of our release. And then look at the date of his
departure
exit from St. Louis. I'm sure it was a coincidence.
Now, do you have any updates on what we're naming this next section? Yeah.
Well, I'm about to have a session with an individual to talk about it. We might have some tacos.
Okay.
And it'll be my mission to make it all
Well,
happen.
then can I make my my point?
Yeah, go ahead. What's your
within the vein?
Yep.
So tonight, which is January 22nd, the U.S. men's team is playing Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
We have representation.
The Ticos?
Yeah, the Ticos. We have representation from the Lou in multiple ways. So we have Tim Ream playing tonight. We have Patrick Schulte on the bench. He's not starting. Matt Steffen is starting in the box. Indy Vasilev gets a call up.
Stash.
Yep. Stash.
I'm going to call him Stash.
On the roster. Now, I know Caden Glover is in camp. He was not on the roster for tonight. From what I see, that could change because they don't release everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we have, at least two St. Louis natives participating tonight, plus representation from City.
Yep.
It's kind of a cool thing, I think.
Yeah, so I'll tease this one out there. One of the names that you named will be joining us in about a week and a half's time. So be sure you follow. Click that button.
Okay.
Because he's going to bring him on. We're going to talk all things college basketball.
No. College basketball.
No.
By the way, Tennessee won last night.
Oh, my God, who cares?
I care because I don't care about Ohio State or Notre Dame or football.
I want to talk a little bit of soccer. My point today that I wanted to bring up was I don't actually have the details. I know you probably – actually, I think you probably know more than me about it. Erling Haaland signed –
10-year agreement.
10 years.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
What's the number?
They haven't – I don't think they released that.
I mean, it's got to be like $500 million minimum, if not more.
I don't know why anybody in any sport signs a 10-year agreement from the team side. I can understand from a player perspective why you'd sign a 10-year agreement because you're guaranteed for 10 years you're set. From a team, that's bizarre to me.
Yeah, because he is how old is he?
20. No, he's not.
Yeah, no. 20. I was going to say 23.
Is he 24, 25 maybe?
I'm pulling it up right now. He is age 24.
Yeah.
25 in July. There's not a lot of nines that are playing at that level at
Lewandowski.
32, 33.
Lewandowski is why Haaland has this long-term contract.
Possibly.
I guarantee you, because he's the only one realistically that fits that kind of 9 profile that's still playing at that level at early to mid 30s.
$10 says he never makes let's say he plays 10 years, there is probably negative 82% chance he finishes in the EPL. He will have to do what Lewandowski is doing, playing a smaller league. He's on a great team. tremendous competition, but the bottom 10 teams in that 20,
Yeah, no, I get you.
they're little guys.
I get you. No.
As opposed to the EPL, if you try to do that for 10 years, grinding against those bodies, that's different.
But here's the weird thing to me is the EPL could be completely different in 5 years.
Well, it could be like a super league, and it's like 20 of them all pull away.
That's what I think is so weird about a 10-year contract for an EPL player.
And they play every single game in Qatar or something like that. It's going to be weird.
Well, and let's talk about speculation. Where's Neymar going?
Honestly, I hope he goes to KC and flops. It just rolls around. Like literally rolls. Well, 7,000 meters a game.
You know it doesn't matter what team he goes to. That's going to happen. But
I think Chicago is the front runner.
How do you go from Riyadh and or Barca
to the Magnificent
Paris
Mile?
to
These guys are being sold.
Frozen tundra that is Chicago.
No, but we can't look at this through the lens of the league and the teams. You have to look at it through they already have FU money, right?
Sure.
So for them to move and have a next phase or the next part of their life.
Yeah.
If you get the opportunity to come to the States and rub elbows with the top tier athletes in the NBA, et cetera, in cities like Miami, like New York, like LA, and Chicago, that is extremely appealing to these guys.
It would be an interesting get for Chicago. I mean, there was a knockoff X account called Neymar Jr., and they had his picture under the arch. Well, it was like, oh, he's coming to St. Louis. There's no way.
Yeah, I saw that. That was dumb.
Now, we do have, Klaus is Brazilian.
Is he, though?
Pompeu was Brazilian. So maybe there's a tie there that we can pull Neymar in, but I don't see that.
Look, if Neymar has a choice between the Gold Coast and the Hill, he's moving to Chicago.
Well,
no offense to the Hill. I love the Hill. But he doesn't strike me as living over on, Mackland.
No.
So let's take our break. Let's get our guest on the mic here. Now that we've ruined everybody's first 16 minutes, like, review, follow, share, do all that fun stuff. When we come back, we're going to be talking more high school soccer.
Love it.
And a little bit of psychology mixed in there. You like that?
Yeah.
All right, we're out here. Be right back. Soccer Dad Pod is happy to present a new partner of the show, Choose It Right. This platform is fully integrated to help coordinate and organize your high school athletes' bio, their grades, pictures, references, highlight videos, and more. With email templates and process suggestions, Choose It Right becomes helpful in navigating the college recruiting process. Check out the link in our show notes and benefit from our special Soccer Dad Pod discount. Now, back to the pod. All right, we are back. Soccer Dad Pod. Rolling back in. What do you think of this one?
I like this.
My mind was running.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Playing this in honor of the Buckeye State.
Yeah. Yeah, go Buckeyes or whatever. If you're into that.
Camp. CAAMP.
I downloaded it was Camp and somebody else. I gotta pull it up, but kind of a collab song, and love it.
Well, these guys are Columbus boys.
Yep.
Congratulations, Missy and Matt Nords.
Yep.
On your Buckeye National Championship. Sorry to all you Fighting Irish fans, but so it goes.
Maybe next year. You know.
In sport, the team that scores more points usually wins.
Tends to happen.
That's what happened. We're back. We are bringing on today another name synonymous with soccer in St. Louis, high school soccer in particular. He's been at his alma mater now for, I'm just going to say decades to make him feel. Coach Klein, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks, JD.
Yeah, man. He's like, thank you. Maybe. So we talked about this earlier, and actually, whenever I reached back out to get this set up, we had you on previously. really one of the most fun evenings
Yeah.
I've had as it pertains to high school soccer in general. And that was the semifinal night out at Liberty, right? That's where it was. You guys played St. Dom, CBC, and Liberty. We had you on, but, kids will be kids, and there was a little bit of a
Chatter.
language issue behind us, and I caught it. So I decided we can't do that because there's going to be kids listening. So here you are, man. Really
And administrators listening.
Administrators listening too.
And board members.
Yeah, so we apologize for the whole first part of the show. First off, congratulations on last season's accomplishments, the run. I'll be honest, that night, out of the 4 teams, I really liked the way your team played, especially, up the spine, the talent, the style. So congratulations on last season. Why don't we just start there? Let's start at the finish line a little bit. Give us a little bit of your own take, a recap of last year, your run through Champions League into state.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things we do at the start of the year is we set goals, right? Very, very typical of a program. I'm lucky to be at a program where every year one of those goals is, and we always just say, let's get to Soccer Park. I know it wasn't at Soccer Park this year, but it's just a nice little slogan that we can always remind ourselves, hey, what's our goal? We're trying to get to Soccer Park. And, some teams, it builds kind of through the season. You start to work through your adversity and everybody learns their roles. And eventually, by the time the regular season comes to an end, you look and go, okay, I think we got ourselves a postseason team here. The group I had was not like that. The group I had from the start at tryouts, at summer training was, holy moly, we got something special. How can we keep this going? How can we keep them healthy? And I told them that, all right? I felt it was good up front to tell them that their coach believed they were incredibly capable of doing something special. And so we rode that wave for the whole season. I never had a doubt, even in losses, I never had a doubt that this team couldn't do something. There was just too much talent. So the Champions League was an amazing experience. Okay, one of my players said it best, was it gave our guys an opportunity to fight for something like really, really noteworthy in the middle of the season. When the season starts to lag a little bit and you're trying to wonder, like, what are we doing playing a 4:30 game on a Wednesday, coach? Like, how do you get a team up for that? Well, if you start putting some stakes in it, they really get behind that. So it gave us a chance to play some new teams. It gave us something new to fight for, some bragging rights. Could we be the first winner of the Champions League? And gosh, we came so close. So that brings us to when I met you guys the first time, that Champions League semifinal. Never played Liberty before, so there's a great plus. We're playing a new team. It was back and forth. It had excitement, right? I mean, we thought we had the game in the bag, but those guys never gave up. And then my goalkeeper has just an amazing PK performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
one way to put it. Yeah.
What I love about that game was, and Zach, chime in if you disagree, but in watching the game, in my opinion, it was clear you guys had kind of the technical talent. You had very, very good players on the ball. You very creative, dynamic, kind of the typical adjectives that you would apply to a team that does, that plays, quote, beautiful soccer, right? Liberty, yes, they have technical players that were in their group too, but they seemed to be much more systemic. They had a system. They were grinders. They were athletes. They were good soccer players, but there's a difference. And I thought this is a perfect example of high school soccer, where you have two significantly different styles based upon the talent at hand, and it was a heavyweight match that could have easily have gone either way, and kind of the comeback in the end to get it to tie ball game at 3-3, I believe 3-3, right?
3-3, yep.
And then going to PKs, you take all of that, throw it out the window. Now it's on 2 goalies. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about you guys in that game in particular. As a coach, you know now still, you had players that had played at very, very high levels from a club standpoint. They had got you to that point in the season already. How do you coach them going into a PK? Because I love the differences between coaches when it does get to PKs, because there's some that are like, you guys pick the order, I'm going to sit down over here, and then there's the opposite. Where were you in that process?
So, you talked at the beginning of the podcast, maybe we'll talk a little psychology. So I do proudly incorporate tons of sports psych into my coaching. And I felt in that moment, and all season, like you said, I've got a lot of guys who are really, really talented, guys who make their pens all the time in practice. But then in that moment, in that big moment when the stage is set and everybody's eyes are on you, how do you center yourself? And so in that moment, I pick my order, I tell them who's up, and I remind them of the visualizations that they should go through. Okay, I tell them, I don't care where you put it, you put it where you visualize yourself putting it. Hit it with confidence, and what will happen will happen. All right, now I've got opinions about pens, and maybe for another time, but that's it. And then I sit back because there really isn't anything more.
Yeah,
okay. Some coaches will scout the goalie. Some coaches will scout the PK takers, and you guys might have even seen it. They'll
map them out.
They'll map them out on the goalie's water bottle. We didn't do that. This was somebody could check me. It wasn't. Was it? It might have been our first or only our second penalty shootout the whole season, and I wanted to just see what can they do. What can they do with just very little information, a little scouting? What can they do in that moment so that I know what I'm working with as we head into the postseason when those things matter just as much? So when it comes to our goalkeeper, I don't talk to him at all. My goalie coach might say a word or two. Those guys are so much a different animal.
Oh, they're weird. I mean, we can say it. Goalies are a little, but they're a different breed.
But I love that. You need to be
totally.
You need to be a different breed, and I just respect whatever headspace they need to get into, because all eyes are on you. I mean, my gosh, you are credited for the win. You're blamed for the loss a lot of times, and that's heavy.
Yeah,
super heavy, especially when his players should have or could have gotten the job done, in the prior 100+ minutes.
It was fun. Go ahead, Zach. You had
I probably have similar thoughts on pens that you do, and I think we should maybe table or put that in the parking lot, because I would love to get your thoughts on it. But I do think the clashing of styles was really impressive for me and entertaining, because we've all been a part of teams that have structures and styles, and some stick to it, some will adapt depending on the opponent. It seemed like both teams were like, nope, we're sticking to what got us here.
Yeah, nobody changed.
and it was just a slugfest the whole time, and it was so much fun to watch. And it was, I think, to me, it was the epitome of what the Champions League needs to be.
Yeah, let's zoom out for a second and just kind of lean into that a little bit more and just get your take, because how many years have you been coach?
Head coach, 11.
11, and then but you've been on the staff.
I've been on staff 21.
21 years. Okay, so you were there and you participated in the pre-academy days. You've seen the shift with the growth in club. You've seen kind of shifts in perennial powers. The perception of who are the perennial powers, and there's a lot of newcomers, across the classes. Talk a little bit about, maybe a state of the union of kind of high school soccer via the Champions League and teams like a Liberty, and even even the Class 3 teams, like a team like Ladue or Webster, et cetera, that over the past 10 years or so, everybody's getting more and more competitive. How do you view high school soccer right now? Just speaking about St. Louis from a parity level, just in general.
I've always believed St. Louis high school soccer has been some of the best high school soccer in the country. Now, I don't have a ton of data to back that up, but when you look at what we produce, and
would you mind tilt that up a little bit?
Whoever,
yeah, there we go.
Whoever does rankings and puts us in those places, I've always felt like this is a place where you want to come to watch good high school players. Now, you're right. The playing field has leveled like I've never seen before. Okay, I was a player at Desmet, and in the 90s, I think we won 3 or 4 state championships just in the 90s, and it wasn't just us. It was another MCC school that would be right there along with us or take the title. And now that you've got some clubs in the area that take the top players in each age group off of your list, it does level it. And even though some of the better players aren't with us at certain moments, the coaching at a lot of these schools are still really, really good, and they bring the best out of these boys. They get to play in front of their classmates, in front of large crowds, and it yields really, really good results. So going through that state tournament and looking at the number of teams that we faced, it wasn't kick and run. It wasn't just, survival. There were moments like that. There were many times where it was really pretty soccer, and guys were actually trying to build out of the back and really execute those fundamentals. Okay, but in pinches, you abandon all that and you do whatever you can to win, right?
Yep.
Anyway, I have been really impressed with how the competitive level, the talent that we see out there has been where it's at, because I will admit when the academy system started up, I was a little nervous about what this would look like. And thanks to things like the Champions League and other opportunities where they can really showcase themselves on high levels, I think high school's in a great place still.
So let me ask you kind of a weird question. So we've had the privilege of having your predecessor on the show, and you can see my bright orange cup here.
Did he give that to you?
No, he did not. But I am an alum from Tennessee. Okay. So Tony Vitello is somebody I admire. But you worked for Greg.
I did.
And then you took over as the second ever coach at Desmet High School soccer.
I love that fact.
Crazy to me. I mean, the NFL can fall off a cliff as far as I'm concerned. But when I think of tenure and kind of that style of leadership, the only team that makes sense to me is Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin, I think, is the 5th ever head coach for an NFL team. When you think of other teams that have had, well, the Chicago Bears, new team, new coach every, 8 days or something. But the fact that you are number 2 in line behind somebody like Greg Vitello, what do you think he would say about Champions League and kind of where things are going with the best 11 and how the academy has shaped up? Because he got out kind of right before a lot of those changes took place. And I'm not asking you to speak for him. I'm just curious what your thoughts would be around his in this moment.
It's a different world than when he was coaching. But he always felt he would do whatever was necessary to showcase his program, to put Desmet in front of as many people as he possibly could. So I have no doubt that he would have bought in. I mean, he would have probably been on the committee if he felt that it was going to be good for high school soccer. He stood so strong about high school athletes and playing multiple high school sports, as a matter of fact. He was always a big believer of that. He probably still is. So I don't have any doubt that he would speak against it or anything like that. So, yeah.
Wait, let's follow up on what you just something you just mentioned. Kind of what's your take on multi-sport athletes in the environment that you are in? Because your program is a little bit of, it's like a hybrid between a typical high school program, because you guys are not typical. You got a lot of stars on your chest. There's a lot of pedigree that comes through there, in history and experience, et cetera, and talent right now. And then you have, the kids that are kind of academy that are completely exclusive to soccer. So when it comes to your kids at Desmet that are playing at this higher level, what's your take on multi-sport athletes in that, 16, 17, 18 year age groups.
I love it. I wish more of them did it. I wish more of them felt they had the opportunities to do it. The problem is a lot of them don't feel like they have enough time to commit themselves fully to that. And why is that? I think what the reason is the clubs put a lot of, I don't want to say pressure. I'm not anti-club, but the clubs put a lot of weight on their shoulders for commitments outside of their high school soccer season. And so many of them don't want to be a part-time baseball player, a part-time volleyball player. I think that's just disrespectful to that coach and that program. But if they can make it work, if they can, look at their club schedule and find ways to make it work, find a gracious spring coach who would be okay with a conflict here and there, I see tons of benefit in their mental state. They're just happier. A lot of times there's happiness in just being able to be around new teammates in a different venue. Mm-hmm. I think it's super good for their muscles. Different sports make your bodies move in different ways, and that prevents injury. Unfortunately, we just aren't seeing it like we used to see it back in our era. And a lot of that is these commitments they feel like they have to abide by with some of these organizations.
Do you view that as a positive, negative, or neutral to the quality of soccer?
Yeah, good. So my son's in club. He's a fourth grader, but there's a club in town that's got their hooks into us, and we see the machine that I'm seeing it for the first time, because I've always been on the outside as a high school coach looking at the club. Now that I'm in the club and what expectations there are for just a 9-year-old, I get why my high school seniors are the way they are when they make decisions on whether to play college or not, and go, okay, had they maybe taken a slightly different route, would playing college ball been more of an option for them? But at 9 years old, the opportunities my son has to get better is like I've never seen before. Never had these opportunities. Yes, you practice with your team on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but then you can do something Monday night, Wednesday night, and then play a game there, do a pickup game on a Sunday. I mean, there are opportunities with these big clubs in St. Louis to play soccer 7 days a week.
Let me ask a quick follow-up question, then I'll get out of the way here for Zach. Do you think, because, for example, my oldest son is a sophomore in college, and he grew up. We are from Webster. He went to SLU High, but all of his buddies were Webster. They won state their senior year. Of that class, one kid played college soccer. And that's a group of kids that had played together their whole lives, kind of in the vein of what you're describing, but only one of them went on to the next level. Speak to the elevated level of players at earlier ages and more kind of on the particular paths and burnout.
Yeah.
Where do you see those two butting heads, or do you?
I think I do see it, but I think it can be prevented if we teach them a little bit more about if it really is burnout, or if we just need to kind of recenter their vision of what college soccer can be. So this took me a while. Like when I was a first and second year varsity coach and learning like these boys don't want to play in college, it was hard for me. It was really hard for me to understand.
Because our generation,
you played college soccer.
Yeah.
You go find somewhere to play.
Right.
But now it doesn't seem like it's that way anymore. I'm similar. Some years I'll have one. I think last year, it was something like that. And these guys who were all state, all regional players are like, I'm done. I can't put any more effort into it.
They want to go to J school and rush.
They do. And now that I've seen, what club soccer takes out of them, physically and emotionally or mentally, I can sympathize. But sometimes these boys come to me with such high goals of playing for Indiana and Notre Dame, or let's just say Vermont, right? Like if I'm not playing at one of those schools, then I'm not gonna do it. It's not worth it. And that makes me wonder: do you love the game, or are you playing it for different reasons?
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way. I had opportunities to play in multiple divisions, and I wanted to go where I would just get to play the game for a few more years. And the boys nowadays seem to have a slightly different mindset of if I can't go and sign that big deal with that big school, then what's D2, NAIA, are the opportunities going to be there? Is the roster going to have enough room for me? Or are they going to be international players? And then you got the portal. That really scares a lot of my guys away as well. I can't even consider a high Division I or middle Division I because the portal's the coaches will get those boys from the portal.
That's interesting that you bring that up in that way, because as a psychology teacher, I'm wondering, because we're dealing with this, as I mentioned in the opening, with our son, how much of that is ego versus burnout, and how much of that ego is informed by social media and the unrealistic nature of that platform, or those platforms that are saying, listen, if you're not in one of those top tier schools, then what's the point? Yeah. Not thinking about it in a way to advance your college career by getting paid potentially to play and get a scholarship, or just continue to grow within the sport. And, I get to go to college that I want to go to, and they have my major. Mm-hmm. And I think that was what I got from talking to Charlie Ward from Millikan. You don't go to Millikan on a soccer scholarship. You go to Millikan because you want to go to Millikan. And, by the way, they have a soccer program where you could play the next 3 to 4 years. And I thought that was interesting when my nephew played for Webster Groves, and they got second in state. One kid went to college to play soccer, and I think it was the goalie who went to WashU. I look at your current roster of seniors, or not even seniors, some of the kids like the Weber boys and some of the kids that have gone through the high level club and academies and now to the high school program. How are they going to make those decisions? And is it a responsibility? This is the turnaround question. Is it the responsibility of a high school?
Yes, especially in the private world.
And
because there's an expectation on
to push that narrative, or is it just like kind of like before the PKs?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I've gotten you to here.
Yeah. How do you manage the ROI expectations
yes.
of the kids and the parents in your world?
Yep. Preseason meeting, preseason meetings with the parents. We put it out there in packet form. College recruitment information. Here is what our high school can provide for you. All right, from your freshman to your senior year, and I lay it out every year. Here's what Desmet will do for your freshman soccer player, for your sophomore, junior, and senior, and it's bullet points. Okay, so they are informed right from the start what we can do to help, and then they will also see where we stop. Okay, Desmet's got a great guidance counseling for college entrance, and they don't just help kids get into schools, they help athletes get into schools.
Right.
We've got a teacher. He's also a football coach who specializes in sports recruitment, so he helps not just his football players, but any athlete who's trying to get himself to the next level. It's like you said, Zach, I think it is ego, and burnout is an easier excuse for them sometimes. I'm burned out.
Let me ask you a quick question, then we're going to take a break. How do you manage self-awareness, the reality of a player? So hypothetically, you hand out these packets. You got a incoming junior, and the kid's like, I want to play college soccer. I want to get all the minutes. I want to be the captain. Really type A. And then they put down a list of schools, and it's Indiana, North Carolina, Duke, Akron, et cetera. But you know in your heart of hearts that, hey, look, you're not at that level. How do you view, or where do you view the responsibility of you as the high school coach in managing those expectations?
Okay, so this is one of the privileges of being there 21 years is I can pull from other examples prior to this player and go, look, we had a player much like you a few years ago who thought the same way, and it didn't go like he hoped it would. And instead, we put him down this route, and look where he is now. Look at the success he's had at a D2 or something like that. So thankfully, I've got that one to really pull from. And the second reason is my assistant coach was a former college coach. Coached at UMSL, coached at Lewis and Clark.
I see where you're going with this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Well, and
I love it.
You bring in the assistant coach, and he goes, "Boys, I was just in the suck a few years ago.
Yeah.
Here is the reality. Take it from me. I was at UMSL. I was at Lewis and Clark. Here is what I was dealing with. Here is what you can expect. Mm-hmm. Believe me." And he's a wonderful guy. He's a credible person. The boys really listen to him, and he's been great. He's a Desmet alum. So I've got those two things working for me. Not every coach does.
No.
I get that.
But everybody in the MCC has somebody in that staff or that alumni group that they could call in and have
for sure
that type of conversation. You're just lucky to have them on staff.
You're right.
There's a deep pipeline. You don't get 6 stars
No.
without having a deep pipe.
Agreed.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more high school soccer, talk a little bit broader St. Louis soccer, and I don't know. I'm sure something else will pop up.
I'm sure, yeah.
You know,
Get
that's how these things go.
Yeah.
Quick break. Back with Coach Klein in a second. See you.
Stop.
All right.
Whoa.
We're back.
Yeah.
Playing this one in honor of our psych prof here.
Mm-hmm.
Little Pixies.
Yep.
You know what this is?
Nope.
Where is my mind?
Well,
Psychology teachers should know this, right?
When,
right, Coach Klein? Is
when the buildings came down in Fight Club. I'm
yes.
pretty sure.
Yes. A true Gen X response.
yes. I need to go watch that movie again.
Fight Club?
Yeah.
I watched it a couple months ago.
Still hold up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you pick up on nuances that you
As an adult?
Yeah. There's a couple movies for me that do that.
Yeah.
Where
there's a lot of books like that.
I can continue to watch it over and over, and every time I'm like, oh my God, I missed that. How did I miss that?
Yeah. That makes sense.
The one most of all, though, like top of the list is "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, you know the whole Homer thing.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
Coach Klein, if you were to watch one movie on a desert island on repeat, what would it be?
Oh my God.
Oh, on repeat. I need more laughter in my life, and so I probably would replay Caddyshack over and over. I know that might not be the answer the psych teacher should say.
No.
If you said Requiem for a Dream, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah,
the dumbing down of isolation.
Yeah,
I totally
I get it. In that vein, I'd have to go maybe with like an Airplane.
Yeah,
or some super slapsticky type.
Bill Murray or Rodney Dangerfield in that movie? Who do you like better?
Bill Murray.
Yeah,
I used to think that. The older I get, the more I watch it.
Well, because Rodney, he doesn't play. He plays Rodney Dangerfield. Like he's not playing a character. He's just a characterization of himself.
I know. It's,
so, at least the Bill Murray character is something of a actual character. But Bill Murray's just a genius, in my opinion. A little weird, but good.
Yeah, he is.
Well, that's fun.
Go ahead.
So
you had one before the break.
No, we were kind of going down the path around, not to use the word path again, but that path to college and why kids are kind of bailing out now. Where 15 years ago, the pipeline from Desmet, from CBC, from Chaminade, from SLU High into top quality programs was pretty fluid, and when the academy system came in, that started to change that landscape quite significantly. And now with the Champions League, and there's just kind of a renewed focus on high school soccer back in St. Louis. I'm curious to see, and Coach Klein, I would love to get your prognostication here. Do you think that putting a spotlight back on high school soccer in a different way, meaning the state finals is always there, like your goal of we got to get to Soccer Park. Yeah. That's what we want to do. now with this other view and the fact that, several of the coaches are getting together and we're helping promote the best 11. Mm-hmm. So now there's even social media outside sources kind of promoting these kids. Do you think there's a possibility of not a resurgence, but like maybe a different way to get these kids maybe to be more interested in playing in college? Or do you think it's too early to tell?
Okay. It does seem a bit early, but it certainly doesn't feel like this is going to hurt their chances. This has got to help at least.
It feels a little different. Like what little I've been around it here the last 5 years or so, it does feel a little different, on socials. And I'm only I'm talking through the lens of the kids, because your oldest is 2015, is that right?
My oldest boy is a 2015. Yeah, I got an 8th grade girl.
Okay, so my oldest, as I mentioned earlier, is sophomore in college, and he's been around it, set for the last 6 years, right? And then obviously Beckett and our kids are in the middle of it. They just seem to be talking about it more year over year over year. Do you see that amongst your own players?
Talking about high school soccer?
Yes.
Talking about it? Yes, and I think there's a pride to it. Because being a part of the Champions League, not necessarily winning it, just being the fact that you're invited to it, it helps them kind of fantasize about the real Champions League, right? The big boys are playing in. And so it brings that sense of confidence. They can brag a little bit that they're a part of something special. I will say, when we were playing in that Champions League final in October, it had a state final atmosphere. Okay, I know it was at Creve Coeur and the venue was a little bit smaller, but
packed.
It was packed, and that's exactly what the organizers wanted. That's what I think my players were hoping for. And if we can continue that, it's obviously going to continue to make waves in the media, and the boys are going to get the attention that they deserve. These college coaches don't just have to wait for a state final to see how do the best players in St. Louis play against the best players in St. Louis. Let's see this a little bit earlier. And that Champions League final, Dominic versus Desmet, was a really, really great high school soccer game once again. And
I think I know there were college coaches at the semifinals at Liberty. I know there were several colleges that were there. In fact, there were a couple of recruiters there as well. I think that's also an opportunity for the high school coaches to step up and say, hey, in addition to what your bulleted points about what we can do for your freshman, your sophomore, your junior, hey, if we make Champions League, there's going to be college coaches at those games, especially for the semifinals and finals. This is an opportunity for you that maybe not be playing for Academy to get your name out there in front of these coaches that might not see you otherwise. So it's another kind of feather in the cap, so to speak, on how the high schools can continue to promote that kind of pathway. Because if somebody reaches out to that kid who might not have been thinking about it because they were like, it's not Indiana, it's not, Stanford or whatever, but it's a D2 coach that saw them in the finals and says, hey, man, you could come out here, play for 4 years, get your college paid for. That might change the game a little bit, I would think.
Absolutely. If I could speak for myself for just a moment, that's how my college career went. Was a school saw me at a showcase or whatever it was. Maybe it was a high school game, and I never heard of him before. But he was really good at his job. The college coach was really good at his job and introducing himself to me, telling me what his university could offer me. And so I looked it up, and I thought, holy cow, I didn't know this school existed. I went and checked it out, fell in love with it. And I would hope that the more good coaches we can get out to these tournaments, the more they can contact our players and go, look, man,
Where did you go?
So I played in Memphis at a school called Rhodes College.
Rhodes College, yes, in Germantown.
And it was a Division III school.
Yep.
It was perfect for me. I had chances for Division I and II. It would have taken a little bit of time for me to see the field, I think, in some of those schools. But III it was a great city. I thought I could have some fun in it, but it also was going to let me play soccer and get a good education.
Rhodes is a beautiful campus, by the way.
It's beautiful.
It's all stone walls around it.
4 hours from home.
Yeah.
Hey, so Mom, cool. 4 hours from laundry.
Right? Dad was my biggest fan. He could easily drive down and see all of my games.
See the games.
And I tell that to my players too. Like, listen, it wasn't Indiana. It wasn't Creighton. It was a school that checked so many boxes for me, and I have zero regrets. And so I want to believe I'm still a role model for these kids, and they see how I've turned out. Now, I'm not just saying high school teacher. I'm just saying how I've turned out as a man, and go, look, those decisions I made, I think, help produce what you see every day at practice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the fun stuff as it pertains to St. Louis high school soccer, and that is the shit talk, the rivalries, the whole, mano a mano, because I think, we kind of alluded to the elevated nature, the elevated engagement of the kids now via the best 11 and some other things that are occurring on socials, as well as Champions League, right? For you, talk a little bit about the role that the MCC and rivalries play in buoying your message or creating your culture. Because obviously there are certain things that you guys do from within. This is who we are from a good person standpoint. Mm-hmm. But we're in St. Louis. This is all about what high school did you go to for a reason. Mm-hmm. Talk about rivalries and how you manage the lore and the current.
There is a lot of times the easiest pregame talks are when we play MCC opponents. The harder pregame talks are when we're playing someone that and I'll say these words exactly. I go, boys, we're playing a team tonight that doesn't have CBC across their chest, that doesn't have SLU High across their chest. Here are now the things we got to do to get up for this game. And there's very little I got to do to get my boys up for a game against CBC. That's probably our biggest rival. And that's not something new. That's something I inherited. It's just always been Greg Vitello versus Terry Mickler. And this isn't just soccer. This is every sport. Desmet and Vianney, I think, just played last night in basketball. Just amazing. Attendance is always good, whether it's streaming or in person, and we see it in just about every sport. It's awesome that it's St. Louis. I don't think that it's like anywhere else. I don't know if I have an explanation for that, but I hope it never dies out, because it is one of the it's one of the easiest games to coach in terms of a motivational pregame, but you got to bring your best as a coach tactically, because these boys still are coming to these schools and they expect to perform and be the best.
So you just name dropped there your predecessor, Coach Vitello, and then Terry Mickler over there at CBC. Terry's big friend slash. He's a fan of the show, right?
I think we can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, he listens.
He's listening. He's probably gonna.
He listens and sends us notes.
Send us a note. We haven't got a note in a little bit.
It's been
the holidays.
Yeah, maybe today.
When you think, and then Vitello, Mickler, you got Gavain, you've got Villa, and then my guy Coach Baker across the river, and all these names that are literally, when you zoom out and you look at high school soccer, not just in St. Louis, but really in America, you've got three of the winningest coaches in the in the top 10, that are all within a 20-mile radius, and you took the baton from one of the greats in Vitello. How does it make you feel? Do you ever think about being kind of that next gen? Like you and Bobby O, to a degree, like you guys are of that age group that's like, you're the next chapter.
Right.
Talk a little bit about what that means to you, filling shoes like Coach Vitello's and competing still against a Terry Mickler in St. Louis high school soccer landscape.
It's a huge honor. I know now. I know exactly where I'm at. I know what is expected of me. I am going to continue to pay my respects to the guy who built this program, and what that means is, if the school will, my wife's not going to like this, but if the school will continue to have me, they're stuck with me, and that's not just because I'm trying to beat a record or anything like that. Absolutely not. It's what this school has done for me and the success I've been lucky to have. Who wouldn't want this? I don't have any goals at this moment to do anything else. I will say I would love to coach my son. That would be great. So when he when he gets to be the age, it'd be great. But yeah, I have learned so much from him. He still teaches me to this day. I listened to Bobby O's podcast with you guys, and Bobby and I were teammates. We were competitors in club. We're competitors now, across the field from each other. But Coach, I guarantee you, Coach texts both of us on the state final day, and he's still a teacher to us. He's never going to stop being that.
Did he text both of you the same text? I really think you're going to win. Yeah, he sent it to put you in a group chat. Yeah. I really think you're going to win.
Usually he sends me something kind of snarky. Nice. We have a great one. He's like, Josh, I'm with you, win or win.
Yeah, there you go.
But I know exactly what he means. It's endearing. I know he genuinely cares for me and what I'm trying to do. He's supported me every single year with how the program is continuing to run. I think the way he wanted it.
I think it's interesting too that you are an alum and then came back. We had Ryan Butchart, who's the head coach at Lafayette, talk about the next chapter. I mean, he's
a puppy,
bleeding edge of the next generation, right? So we haven't done this, and I would be curious how many current head coaches of those kind of St. Louis high school teams are alum from those schools. Mm-hmm. I would think it's a pretty significant number, wouldn't you?
I think there's some names that I wouldn't say big number, but I think yes, there's definitely a number.
I would love to know that, because I think the passion that you bring to the table, that Butch brings to the table, it goes beyond just a program. It's a legacy,
right?
And Lafayette doesn't have the history that Desmet does. We don't have a star on our chest yet, but I think that's obviously in the cards with what they're trying to do with that program. But I still think that passion's got to come from somewhere. And so my question to you is, let's say you were not an alum of Desmet. How do coaches find that passion for those programs? How do they get themselves up for the type of psychology you need to get these young men to work together as a team and to strive towards a goal? Like, how do you do that? Take the legacy out of it. Like, if you got slotted over at, I don't know, Hazelwood, how would you try to reform that for your program?
Oh, wow. I guess I would start it at younger levels. I would do my best to tap into the youth community, and if I can get working with those groups and have my hand in how they develop from that age, then when I see real growth, when I can really, really foster that growth, I think that it will mean a whole lot more to me. If I jump over to a Hazelwood School District school and try to bring that same passion, it would be difficult. It certainly would. That is tough. That is tough to do, and I hope that more alum do consider going back and coaching for their schools. My best coaches are my alum. And that's actually the biggest compliment that they can ever give me or the school, is if they say, Coach, I want to come back and be a part of your staff. And it's because we spend so much time together. And that's going back to, if I can spend time with the youngsters in that community and they want to play for you, they feed off of your personality. And so big secret to why high school teams are so successful are the ones that spend way more time together than just a 3 to 5 o'clock practice. It's beyond that.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it earlier, the Webster teams. Cashel started this a number of years ago, where in a day and age, this is about 10, 12 years ago, where Gallagher's were what they were, Fuses were what they were and are. Big clubs were, still the game in town. Cashel within the community really leaned into selling to the grade schoolers Webster Grove Soccer Club.
Yep.
And got them together, and it was not a very good team out of the gate, but over time it grew and grew and grew. And these kids, it reminded me of growing up in Granite, right? Everybody, you played on either Miller Lite or the Elks, or you were not going to play high school soccer, and we all walked to practice, right?
Yeah.
In clubs today, that doesn't exist, but he did that, and it produced 2 state titles in span of 5 or 6 years. do you? The MCC is a little bit different because you guys are all commuter schools. I'm going to shift my question really quickly here. Do you think that the growth of the game and the elevation of the clubs and really the popularity exploding the way it is, not only within St. Louis, even though it's always been big here, but it really is exploding nationally, globally, soccer is the game. Do you think that the parity is increasing at a pace that, is going to eliminate what we saw in the 70s and 80s and 90s and even the 2000s to a degree, where MCC schools on the west side of the river, you're talking about 6, 7, 8, 10 stars from these same schools over and over. But now you've got the Lafayettes of the world, the Eurekas of the world, the Websters of the world. Do you think that we're seeing a new world order where you're still going to have powerful MCC schools, but is the playing field being leveled in real time?
Mm-hmm. I think it is. I wish I would have done my homework and looked back at the state Final Fours in the past 10 years and how that looks. I know we lost to Francis Howell in the final in 2015. Okay, and then we saw a public school in the final in 2019. The other times we played Rockhurst. We played CBC. We played SLU High. Obviously this year. I think that it is. Again, I need to look at my charts, but there is, and it's not just class 4. It's the other classes, and so I really like that, because the last thing I want is public and private to separate. I know that there's people that believe that needs to happen, but I don't want that. It doesn't feel right to be if you're a true state champion if you've only played a fraction of the schools.
Well, if you're a true soccer community, you can't have that line.
No. And especially given the fact that, back in the day that, pre-academy, I'm not going to use the word recruited.
Okay. Sorry. That dirty word.
But there were several schools in that MCC that drew talent to them.
Yeah.
And from the public schools. So kids that would have played for Francis Howell,
sure,
or would have played for Lafayette, or would have played for Ladue,
mm-hmm,
chose because they had the economic ability or because they were given some help, were able to go to these MCC schools. And so it's just now in the last 10 years where those kids are like, well, why would I pay to go to school there if I'm already paying for an academy? I think there's just economic decisions that have changed that landscape.
Oh, sure.
And most of the class 4 and above high schools have 10 to 15 academy level kids walking the halls that are not on their teams, and yet they're still competing at a higher level.
Absolutely.
So,
to that point, do you think the whole club v high school debate / argument / world war that we've been seeing over the past 10, 12 years, do you think it's overblown? Because what Zach just said really kind of resonated in real time for me. All of your schools have a ton of players that cannot play there, yet you guys are still producing teams that are kicking ass, going, competing, winning state titles, making it to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
Are we overblowing this from a diminishing standpoint?
What's diminishing? High school?
Well, just like, people are like, oh, we're losing all these players and the quality of high school is diminishing.
Okay. No.
No.
I don't. There are some high school programs that are doing their best with what they've got, and they're playing a pretty direct style, and it's what they've got to do, but they make it work. But we could say 20 schools right now who have coaches who are trying to teach a really good game, even though he's got 2 or 3 players in his starting lineup that are maybe struggling a little bit, but he or she is still trying to teach a proper way to move the ball, to teach these guys, similar to what they could expect at a college level or a semi-pro level. And so, no, I wish we could just have all the listeners, watch some of these games against, a CBC and a Desmet, or a St. Dominic versus a Francis Howell.
See, I love the Liberty Desmet game.
Liberty
It's like
Desmet
that,
game.
that
Yeah,
was so much fun
yeah.
because that was the bookends of
Yeah.
styles. That was a brilliant game.
Right. And it really, I think it taught a lot of people that both styles can work at this level. I was proud of my guys for sticking with their identity.
So, okay, I'm gonna ask a part B to this.
All right.
When you look at your players over time, like this year you had a player like Landon who is clearly, a very, very good player that has a bright future. Then he can navigate to the next level and beyond if he really wants to, catch a couple breaks, but keep doing what he's doing. He's a very, very good player. But you also have a lot of other players, I have to assume, that have completely flown under the radar, that the vast majority of listeners and even, fans of your team probably don't know these players, but are the kind of role players, the grit, the gut, the role player, that in order to make a run, to win anything, you have to have players like that. So my question to you is, publicly or privately, what's more fun for you? To kind of engage, or have the expectation of those 1%ers that you're like, these are the nucleus of our team, that are, the captains of the boat, or whatever analogy we want to use, versus looking at that kid that's coming in that nobody really has an expectation of, except for you and him, because you believe in him and you know that he can, play the part to take a team to the next level. What's fun for you?
Oh yeah, if I am only focused on winning and getting championships and more stars on shirts, then I'm not going to be doing this much longer. It's too much. It's too much on the psyche. And my most enjoyable, real, consistently enjoyable moments are those 5 to 15 ranked players. My top guys are gonna perform, and they're gonna, I think, get the awards. But it's those middle guys that give us a heartbeat. Make you, honestly, they make you laugh, and they have such a good grip on their self-identity. Like, they know exactly who they are. They know what their role is within this team. They keep the mood light, but they give you everything they've got when their name is called. Okay. So yes, I 100% believe our success this year and every year is a very healthy combination between the talent of those top 5 or 4 or 6, depending on what I've got each year, but then the personalities of my next 10 or 11.
Would you agree that in a situation like this, because I personally seen it where you do have the top 3 or 4, right? If you were to poll the top 4 and ask them to rank 1 through 4, you would probably get 4 different answers.
Yeah.
But 5 to 15, if you polled 5 through 15 to rank 5 through 15, you would have a significant overlap of the same answers. Do you that self-awareness? Mm-hmm. Do you see that in when your teams are successful? Is that something that you see and could attribute to maybe the culture or the chemistry of the team?
100%. Yep. The big question is, where are they getting that from? How are they developing it? When are they developing it? Who is responsible for getting them to that point? Because once I can figure that out, then I'm going to be doing even better. I'm glad that Desmet has an award that we've put together just within our own walls. It's called the Spartan Award. It's an award that doesn't go to that All-State player, doesn't go to the All-American. It goes to the kid that just wasn't quite there to get the votes for this award or that award. But man, people who've been watching him behind the scenes know he was integral to our success. And it's a great plaque. It's got this wonderful quote that it's a guy you wish you had 100 of, and will never say I can't. It's always, I will. Things like that, super motivational. But the boys really get behind it, and it ends in a standing ovation and all kinds of cheers, whoever gets named the Spartan Award. And that helps too, that when my younger players, my freshmen and sophomores, see the Spartan Award winner, they go, okay, maybe I can be that guy.
That could be me.
That could be me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an All-American, right? But man, I can be that guy. And if I've got 4 or 5 kids fighting to be the Spartan Award winner,
Then you got a winning team.
Now I've got a starting lineup of talent and heart, and that's a big ticket.
So I have one final question.
You know what they don't do, though, Zach? I bet they don't put him on the shoulder like Rudy and completely irritate you.
I don't know, Coach Klein, if you've heard my animosity, but I can't stand that man or that movie.
I'm glad I didn't say that for the Desert Island.
I was hoping. I was secretly like, please say Rudy. Please say Rudy.
My final question is really just for high school kids in general and the parents that are listening, because when we do have high school folks on, our numbers actually are pretty significant. Yeah. Whether that's about the best 11 or coaches or whatever the case might be. So you've got some listeners. You guys did not win the state finals, but you got there. You did not win the Champions League, but you got there. How do you motivate kids out there that are interested in playing high school that they're like, I don't know if I can make the college thing work or whatever. How do you get them to be the kids that want to run for the Spartan? That's the kind of question I'm trying to formulate in my head is how do you get that kid that's a freshman, sophomore, who self-awareness wise knows I'm probably not going to play at the high level college. I'm definitely not going pro, but I want to make a difference. What's the message to those kids?
The message is, do you want to be a part? Do you want to be a part of something special? Do you want to be a part of it's cliche, but do you want to be a part of a brotherhood or a family that you might not get to experience at any other part of your life? And so those types of buzzwords, I think, are what a lot of those freshmen and sophomores want to hear. When they get to see the atmosphere that they could potentially be a part of, whether they play every single minute or they're just on the bench, once they get to see it, they get to see that Champions League final, that state final atmosphere, 1,000 to 2,000 people, they go, okay, I want to be a part of that, and I'll do whatever it can to be a part. And there were guys on our team this year that just were simply happy to be there, and I'll be counting on them next year, to try to get us back. So it's an easy, I don't like to use this word, but it is a way that we recruit. It's the best way to recruit is put my team in front of as many people as we can, as often as I can, and youngsters will be at those games going, wow, I want to be a part of that. So.
And I want to amend something really quickly because I realized I just made it sound like you were the first loser in both the Champions League and the state finals. that was not my intention.
I heard that, but I'm like, man, he's never coming back.
I'm not going to dig a deeper hole, but holy Nikes, the fact that in the first year of the Champions League, you guys make it to the finals, and in the same season with the same kids, you make it to a state final. Nobody else did that. And yes, I know you don't have the star from this year, but Coach Klein, what an amazing season for you and for your staff and for your boys. So I just wanted to amend my almost like barbing question, which was not intended to be that way, to celebrate what you guys were able to do this year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
He'll be back next year. I've seen his group.
Yeah.
He's feeling good. You looking pretty positive for next fall?
I'm always positive. It's still a get to soccer park mentality.
Yeah.
It's just a different type of talent that I'm going to have to get the cookbook out and see what I can do.
Love it.
So I got a parting question here. This is a really tough one because I'm really curious how you would handle it. You said you've got a 2015, right? What is he, 4th grade?
He's 4th grade.
What if he went to SLU High?
It's not happening. It's just not. You hear that, Bobby? It's not happening. He would put the maroon on tomorrow if he could, and I'll do everything I can to make sure it stays that way.
Love it. Well, hey man, thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Absolutely.
This has been a lot of fun. Really wish you the best of luck. Huge fans. We love the game. I personally really love kind of what high school soccer means more than anything. So really wish you the best of luck going into next year and beyond, and hopefully you'll come back sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Zach, well done. You know what? I'm going to give you an A- today.
Holy crap.
I know, first one ever.
Yeah,
Zach.
it is. It's the first time I've cracked the A's.
Jared, yeah, two in a row without Jared. You get bonus points for showing up. So we're out of here. Soccer Dad Pod. Thank you all for listening and the support. toss this to a friend. We'd appreciate it. Click that review button. We'll catch you next time. We're out of here.